medical conferences, educating and empowering members on modern healthcare advancements. Mrs. Carey credits her strong values and leadership foundation to her deep faith instilled by her parents, the late Peter Sr. and Gleeka Campbell of Marsh Harbor, Africa. She shares a loving partnership with her husband, Derek Gordon Carey, and our parents to 5 sons and 10 grandchildren. A trailblazer in business, sports, administration, and healthcare, Mrs. Rosamond Carey continues to inspire women to break barriers and lead with excellence. Her legacy serves as a testament to the power of visionary females.
This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. Today is Tuesday. I expect my guest to be in. Brother Hyler should be in shortly, but we will continue to move forward until he does come. Bahamians, we have all kinds of things happening now. I understand the Progressive Liberal Party should be launching their campaign on Labor Day of this year, and they'll be full steam ahead. They've been having some meetings previously and making plans for a major launch, and I think that's supposed to be on Labor Day, which would be, I think, June 6th, if I'm not mistaken, whatever, the first Friday in June. Bahamians, Labor Day is a very important day for the workers of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and you know, the Progressive Liberal Party has always associated itself with the workers of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. They appear to be the common man's party, the workers' party, or party for the workers to get issues done. And of course, they talked about the many agreements they had signed with the labor unions. Of course, we have some unions that are still saying they're in the dark about some issues. And even though paper will stand still and let you write anything on it, when it comes to one's word and following what has been signed, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. You had even a prominent PLP personality who calls the talk shows. I think it's Thompson. I just heard him a short while ago. He said that the PLP must keep their word. The difficulty in politics in this country is that people do not keep their word. We see that all the time. All you do is go and look back from the very beginning, right on up to now. The things that these political parties tell you they're going to do when they get in, and they know they only have a full term of 5 years, provided there are no interruptions in that 5-year span. But basically, parties have had their 5-year term, and maybe because of some other issue, the leader of that particular party may decide to call an early election. That's the thing about our system. The person who is the prime minister at any given time can call an election. We don't have set dates for elections. There are those who would like to see that happen, so everybody can know the election is going to be the first Tuesday or the first Wednesday of a given month or at a given time. We don't have that in this country. So it's up to the prime minister, whoever the individual is in that office, to keep it to himself or herself, as the case may be, and then let you know when they feel like telling you. And Bahamians, a lot of things are happening right now in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You see a lot of activity going on, lots being cleaned up, people announcing one thing after another. And you have to ask yourself, what are we doing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because a whole lot of people are suffering. I even understand a particular insurance companies going on its price for 100% on the burial plots, or those insurances where they have people to have a final arrangement with the insurance company. They went up 100%. I was just informed of that yesterday, and I asked, well, how did that happen? What you're paying now, they went up. Let's say you were paying $100, it went up $200 on the insurance. That is very heavy because there's so many other factors involved. When people get their little check in their hand and there's not enough money to go around, you have to determine how you're going to spend that money. And people are confronted with that every single day. How to spend the money. Some things are always going to get left out because there's no increase in that money. There's no increase in income. And so where there's no increase in income, the money stays small and you're not able to do as much as you would like to do. So some things are going to get left out. It's just as simple as that. So when I heard that, I said, that is very, very hard on the average person. If you're paying a certain amount of money now and then the insurance company goes up 100%, our salaries don't go up 100%. We don't even get 5% of an increase. We're still stuck with the limited amount of money that we have. Now, I also understand that the teachers' union do not agree for the government of the Bahamas to give their workers their checks twice a month, although some people would want that. I remember when I used to work at the Patelco, it's now called BDC. We had no problem with getting those checks twice a month. We look forward to those checks twice a month. We didn't have to wait until the end of the month. I remembered from the time my mother was working at Bahamas General Hospital, the checks were given out once per month. That's how the government operated in the past. Now, of course, they're saying they want to give the workers their money twice monthly. Melinda Wilson says our union doesn't want that. And then you have the Minister for Labor, or the Public Service, let me say that. I think she's Minister for Labor too, if I'm not mistaken. Minister for the Public Service, let me put it that way, who is saying the majority of people want it twice a month. So they have one other umbrella union. She didn't say which one it was. Maybe I guess it's Melinda's umbrella union. And she said 80% of her members do not want it twice a month. They want it once per month as they're getting now, the teachers. What is the reason for that? I don't know. The government may have its reason why they want to pay these monies out twice monthly. Well, then if none of them wanted, they could go to national insurance and let us get our checks twice a month. Because the thing is, I'm sure nobody who gets a national insurance check would refuse. They get it halfway through the month at the end of the month. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And I don't think anyone who gets a national insurance check would kick up, because you will see the long lines of people when that particular date roll around. You see them around the corner, around the block, around the whole constituency, lined up to go and get that check. That's how it is. People are depending on that national insurance check. So maybe national insurance could look at having it twice a month. Since them other fellows don't want it, well, not a problem. I'm sure the national insurance people would be willing to accept that. The pensioners would say that twice a month. That's not a problem. Since people are cutting fuss and they don't want it, well, give it to the pensioners. They could put a little increase on it as well. But the thing is that people have their views, and I'm not against people who still want to go with the old traditional ways. And some people get stuck in their ways. They don't want to let go, the way how things were in the past. Some things need to change, but things that have been working well for the Bahamian people should not be changed. We need to have some standards. We need to have some principles about us as a people. We've fallen down very badly in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, particularly when it comes to principles that we ought to be living by. What should a Bahamian do? Are these new people who are being made citizens being made to understand that you are to become Bahamianized in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, not 2 different or 3 different or 4 different entities within one country? That doesn't make any sense at all. But we have that. Every time I look around, all I am seeing, persons who I know, they know Bahamian. I can recognize a Bahamian. I've lived here all my life, born and have generations of Bahamians in my family. From the time you were a colony right on in the time you became an independent nation. You mean to tell me I don't know what a Bahamian or the behavioral patterns of Bahamian? Now, some people went away and got some funny ideas in their head. I ain't talking about that crew. That's not Bahamian at all. They have imported something into the country and they want to put that on the Bahamian people. Now, there's this talk about suicides again. And I had my guest on this show about suicides, and it seems as if we have, according to reports I heard today, there seemed to be this increase in suicides or potential suicide. You had a man 79 attempting to commit suicide. That's what's reported now. Is that person a Bahamian? I don't know. But I can say this. I don't care what kind of pressure you put on a Bahamian who goes to church on Saturday or Sunday and who believe in God and have the word of God. One thing they will not do. In fact, I got to remember to ask my pastor. In the church where I am, having been there more than 54 years, I have not seen any evidence from the oldest to the youngest, any suicidal tendencies. None. But I say these people go to church. The 22-year-old fellow either was associated or a member of Bahamas Faith Ministries, who it is reported now that he committed suicide at 22. Whether he was a member of the church or affiliated with the church, that's not clear in my mind. But I cannot see Bahamians. It doesn't make any sense to me that a person who goes to church on a Saturday or Sunday, believe in the Bible, believe in God, what you want to kill yourself for? That doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. But yet some people trying to make me believe it is. It doesn't make any sense. Now, if the persons are not attending church, say I go to church every Saturday, I make sure I do that. When I was in my grandfather's church, I went to church every Sunday. Went to Sunday school, went to morning church, went afternoon, and they had other activities for young people back then. Same thing in the church where I've been more, 54 years plus. All kinds of different programs. And I can't find one thread of evidence of any suicidal tendencies in these people who come to the house of God. You come to the house of God and you're talking about you want to commit suicide. What kind of crap is that? It just doesn't make sense. I need you to tell me if it makes sense. Show me where it makes sense, because I don't see any sense in that. And I am convinced that that's something that's foreign, that has come into this country. I heard the Christian Council president saying some things. I got to get more clarity on what he was trying to say about suicide. But he's a bishop. He ought to know. Hold on, caller. Don't go nowhere yet. Just stay right there. He's supposed to know the word of God. You mean to tell me people in the church? No, I mean, I don't understand that. What the heck are you going to church for then? Call you live on there. Go ahead, please.
Brother Sid.
Hey, what about
What's
this
up,
problem
man?
with suicide, man? They telling me people who go to church,
Huh?
people who go to church on Saturday and Sunday just commit suicide.
Well,
You hear any nonsense like that?
yeah.
Tell
You-
me, caller, if it makes sense. You believe in God, and you know if you commit suicide, you're going straight to hell.
Well,
How are you going to repent of that?
we see one who was closer, who walked with Jesus, and you see what he do.
What he did?
It did the same thing. What you talking about today, Judas?
Judas? You know that
Yeah.
was you know those events that happened with him was prophesied to happen? Do you
Yeah,
know
it
it was
was
prophesied that
prophesied.
Jesus would be murdered?
It was prophesied,
Yes.
but it did not mean it would be in him.
So who it was then?
But he chose. He chose. It was prophesied. See, many things.
So
we
if
could
no one
say-
if no one filled the shoe of Judas, what do you think would have happened?
If no one do it,
No one fulfilled what Judas was supposed to do. What do you think would have happened?
we would have been in a poor state. But what I'm saying, Judas chose.
How
He
many?
didn't have. He didn't have to be in the one to do that. The Bible never said Judas was going to be the one to do that.
So who would have
But
been?
since he chose to do that, then the Spirit entered into him, and he was the betrayer.
Do you know at that time, no one had the Spirit of God in them?
No one
No one, not a living one.
had the Spirit of God in them.
Yes, that's correct. At the time when Jesus was here walking on planet Earth in person, the Spirit was not given at that particular time. It came on 31 AD on the day of Pentecost.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. Don't forget now. The Bible said in 1 Peter, I think the 2nd chapter, the 10th verse,
Yeah.
he said the Spirit of God was in the prophet. And the prophet manifesting now. Don't leave that out.
No, that's prior to Christ coming.
Okay, well,
I'm
don't
talking
say
about from the time when he was here on planet Earth.
no.
No one had the Spirit of
Right.
God in them. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, we are straight
Yeah,
on that
we
point.
agree that. But what
Okay.
I called
Go
you
ahead.
for,
Let me let you get your point in.
what I called you for,
Hmm.
3 points. I can make it quick.
Okay.
I don't know the owners of Bahamas Grill out west,
Oh, yes, I heard something
but
about that.
whoever sabotaged that man's business, I think it was poorly. Because, Brother Sid,
You mean this is where King and Knights used to be, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Okay? The man ain't had short ribs in his place for 4 years. No type of beef.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to me good. I could buy a short ribs the seasoning and go home and cook that. And I could take that out and put that on the table until Wednesday morning. No maggots will be inside of that. No maggot. That cannot contain maggots right away just like that. Somebody maybe who were working there, disgruntled, maybe sabotage the man's business. The man's business now falling like that because you know how Bahamian is. Some of us is. We will think, oh, we ain't on this and that next thing. That was bad. The man offered $5,000 who could come and bring the information that whosoever and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a restaurant competition going on or somebody's doing the man business in. That was very bad. My next point is,
No, let me see about the grill now. What we're saying is that people were having problem with the meat, right?
yeah, they say the person buy the food.
Uh-huh.
And when they buy the food and carry it home, say maggots being inside the food.
Oh, okay.
Now, come
was
on
this
now.
was this from more than one customer or just one particular personality?
One customer, one.
One customer, okay.
But the man say he had no short rib in the fridge in the place for 4 years.
Oh, he didn't have any short
He
ribs.
had none.
And this purported to be purchased from his place.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
So where the short ribs come from, or If it's true, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. No, but we only can go by what
Yes.
has been published. Yeah, okay.
My other point is
You got 2 more
a
points now.
hospital up by you.
Yeah.
A hospital is now cooking at the University of the Bahamas. They allow that place. I told you before. They supposed to have the health inspectors come round in these restaurants, inspecting these places and the kitchen, most of all, and they allow that place to run down now till they had to shut it down and cooking to the University of Bahamas.
Wait. You mean to tell me the hospital kitchen, which is right next door to me,
Yes.
they don't cook there no more?
No.
They shut down the kitchen place?
Yes.
Because of what?
Renovation or whatever.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Because, see, let me tell you something. Government should have never had that from the first. Let somebody private operate that.
Okay.
Because when you're dealing with cash flow and you buy it and baking bread, the government getting a business having people bake bread to sell to the hospital and things like that.
Yeah, that's been going on.
Let somebody private do them kind of things, man.
Okay.
You see?
So
in other ways now,
so the food for the patients is being cooked at the
yes, they got to cook down that way.
COB. Okay. All right.
And
Or University of Bahamas. Let me
they
get
got to
it right.
bring up however they bring it up
Uh-huh.
for the sick patient
For
there
the patients, yeah.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
They doing the same thing to silence. Government need to let somebody privatize that out the
So they
silence.
cook for Sandlands at University of Bahamas too?
No, silence people cook for the patient there.
Or they cook right at the Sandlands?
Right, they cook there too. They have a cafeteria where they cook too.
Oh, okay.
And they sell food.
I see. Okay.
You see? But it should be run by a private person.
Okay.
My last point is those two gentlemen in New York, they signed a plea deal to the attorney district up in New York.
The District Attorney General for New York.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Now, I believe why they signed that and why they say they'll agree with it. The people that maybe show them everything, how they were doing and information on them and different things. Now they want a lesser sentence and they don't have no choice. But if they think them attorney, those attorney up there, brother, you gotta give them solid information. You can't come with no bogus and call Harry, Mary name and the next thing.
And it ain't
Like
so.
how Roma was going around and say was a senior politician.
Well, that
Brother,
could be a person. A politician don't have to be in the house, you know.
That person don't have to be in the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, brother said.
Yeah, that's right.
You see? So in other words, those people, you better give them the right information. That's the reason why they want who this big fish is.
Yeah. Okay. But listen, but these people were charged with what? Importing tons of cocaine into the United States?
Yes.
Who they gave the cocaine to? Who received the cocaine?
I don't know, but said.
They ain't say that in the indictment?
No.
What kind of crap is that?
But they showed them all the video and different things.
Okay.
They had on them. You get people down to the airport, our airport, every day.
Uh-huh.
Walking around like this, tourists and stuff like that.
But they say the cocaine came through the Bahamas.
Yes. See them?
Well, you got to know who was on the receiving end.
But they said the Defense Force fella, they got to fly in direct to Miami because
okay.
But some kind of agreement that the government have with America, you could fly straight in and stuff like that, you know?
Okay.
So they show everything where they say where the man go and pick up the bag and this and the next thing and the next thing. And I don't know. Well, it's one type of mix-up thing.
All kind of mix-up, yeah.
But everybody waiting to hear who the senior person is.
But they didn't say whether it's a cabinet minister.
No.
Whether it's a member of the House of Assembly.
That's the reason
why. Or a person in
the
Senate.
Right. That's the reason why the attorney have them to sign it. so they could get this information from them to get them a lesser time.
So they have already agreed for this plea
Yes.
bargaining. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought when I heard it today, I thought this was something they were thinking about.
No, man.
But they didn't sign on to that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So they can get so now they gotta bring out some information.
Right.
You see?
Okay.
But I know one name they ain't gonna call is my name. I go on.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. They call it something else. We have all kind of things happening, Bahamians out there. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. Bahamians, I don't know why the indictment is not telling us who received the cocaine. You can't just charge some Bahamian fellas, say you importing this into the United States. Who did he give it to? Who was on the receiving end? You mean the cocaine that's sitting on the dock or sitting in one storeroom somewhere? They need to explain that. But a highly welcome to the Express Yourself on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM.
Good day, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Good day, Professor, and good day, Bahamas. Yeah.
Does the indictment say, let me say this before we go to the break. Does the indictment say who received this cocaine? They say tons of cocaine. Who received it?
Professor, all this time, they haven't done discovery yet.
Well, how come they ain't know who received the cocaine?
They can find out in a little bit because through the discovery process, the prosecutors are now about to place into those officers' hands all the evidence that's coming against them. That's what's taking place over the next 60 days.
All the evidence that's
all the evidence.
The Bahamian people.
So
these are the Bahamian persons.
The Bahamian persons who were arrested are going to be shown the evidence against them for the first time. And then they could decide how this plea deal is going to shape up and whether or not they're going to get their sentences reduced.
What's the plea deal? Well, all this investigation, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying. That's one side of it. But I want to know, they ain't telling us who received the cocaine.
They can tell us.
And they can tell us. But these people should be charged too before the court. Who received the cocaine? Oh, Mr. Bruce, I think my sound is gone.
Professor, we all going to be shocked because I know they have more information that they're telling us, but we all going to find out more in short order. When we come back from the break, I'll comment on they intercepting drugs like every week, every month. But we're talking.
If you could give me a little bit more sound. I'm not having enough sound. Audience, I apologize for that interruption. We just kind of had a slight thing there. We're going to go to a break, and then I'm going to bring Brother Hyla in. We're going to talk about this thing, what we were just discussing. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Whether you're shopping for Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, or any occasion for that matter, you are sure to find exactly what you're looking for at the Brass and Leather Shops. Great products like handbags, wallets, backpacks, luggage, belts, shoes, and more are awaiting you. Brand names at the best quality and reasonable prices. Land, Rioni, Kipling, Guess, Travel Light, Herschel, and more. Shop any of our locations. Downtown Charlotte Street, Mall at Marathon, and also the luggage store at Palmdale. Be sure to shop Brass and Leather Shops. You'll be glad you did. Bahamian feel-good food in the right atmosphere. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whichever you choose. It's the Cricket Club Restaurant at Haynes Point, West Bay Street. The food is off the chain. Bahamian breakfast. We talking stew cow, stew fish, and sheep tongue sauce. And for lunch, crab soup, okra soup, and pea soup and dumpling. Man! And for dinner, they got mahi seafood platter or steak and shrimp. Only $28.95 per person. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Cricket Club Restaurant. Call 326-4720 for reservations. Oh, and don't forget, there's a live band the magic touch every Friday night. Hey, Shoe Depot has what you and your wallet need. They are stuffed with stylish and exciting footwear, handbags, wallets, and accessories for all occasions. Shoes for the professional, casual, cute and glitzy, skid resistant, and ultra comfortable for those long work days. Shoe Depot has got you. Oh, and be sure to join our Shoe Depot Rewards Club for extra savings and earn points for special benefits. Visit either of our 2 locations, Golden Gate Plaza or the Palmdale Plaza. At Shoe Depot, you'll find the best selection of the best styles and at the best prices.
At Audio Plus, we carry a large selection of DJ and audio products like speakers, mixers, microphones, car audio players, and much more. You can also find a wide selection of musical instruments like marching drums, Junkanoo drums in a wide variety of colors, trumpets, clarinets, trombones, Yamaha keyboards, and Fender guitars at special low prices. Visit Audio Plus on Soldier Road, located in the Cary's Plaza. Open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Phone number 394-6668. Audio Plus, your #1 music store.
I Dream of Sugar, your happy hour spot, where every day is a celebration. Big Mood Mondays, $1 wings, beer buckets, and BOGO cocktails. Tipsy Taco Tuesdays, tacos and $10 margaritas. Wine Up Wednesdays, carnival vibes with specialty cocktails. Throwdown Thursdays, $1 wings, beer buckets, and BOGO drinks. Flirty Fridays, sip $10 sex on the beach, and more. Social Saturdays, 3 for 2 drinks and platters discounted. Sunday Fun Day, unwind with $1 wings and unbeatable specials. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Sugar Rush Lounge at Bay and Market Street, just across from the Straw Market, where every day is a reason to celebrate. Sugar Rush Lounge. Call 603-2792.
From South Beach to Bay Street.
I'm pleased, I really dig your company.
It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is a great day to be in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. This is Tuesday, the 25th day of March, 2025. Bahamians, we have a lot of issues that we're dealing with. We're having a discussion here about this case in New York. That was what we were talking just prior to the break. And I'm trying to figure out, well, I understand from my guess here that the Bahamian men, those who are charged on this side, they are contemplating whether they'll accept the plea deal or not. And that's what I thought I heard on the news prior to coming here. Of course, the caller may have felt that they had decided on it. But I understand it's up for consideration. They're considering whether they will go for this plea deal. Now, I haven't yet seen the indictment. I got to get a copy of that to see what it's all about. But the thing is, you have some other people, Mr. Hyler, who are non-Bahamians involved in this as well.
That's correct. You have Colombians as well.
Yeah.
And they've named the gentleman. They just didn't say what role they played.
Okay.
So that information was not.
All right. So
publicized.
now the persons who played the part of importing, that means if you import something, right? What that means is it would have gone through you to somebody else. Is that it?
Possibly, but the details won't come out until after this next phase of discovery.
All right, okay.
Because imagine that these officers went to court but did not know what information was being held against them.
Okay.
They
fair
know the
enough.
charge, and
Importation.
conspiracy to import, but they don't know. In other words, they don't know what the U.S. government knows. They don't know how much information. I do believe that there's more information that has been collected
Yes.
than what has been put forward.
Okay.
And I think we had said on this show before, but I want the listeners to understand that the court that is dealing and the prosecutors that are dealing with this case, they have a high prosecution rate.
they have a high success rate. In other words, that don't
Yeah, you
mean
did say that before. Yeah.
yeah, meaning when they go to court, they don't go with frivolous information.
Okay.
They don't go with half of the information. They go with very thorough information, and when they present it, and this is what the discovery is going to bring forward. What did the U.S. government discover about these particular officers and the other persons that were arrested?
So now let me understand then, if I get it clear, because I'm trying to get some clarity in my head. Are the others also charged with importation of cocaine?
When I
Or
first
just the Bahamian?
when I first read the indictment,
Uh-huh.
they had the same charge. So yes, they were also charged with conspiracy to import.
Import. Okay. All right. Fair enough. We'll have to see what the next 60 days bring forth, because I would hope that they tell us who got the cocaine. Because the man say tons of cocaine. That's plenty cocaine.
Professor, I think it was just a day or two ago.
Uh-huh.
In a totally unrelated matter.
Uh-huh.
Just one vessel, a gentleman was arrested with 250 kilograms of cocaine.
How many pounds is that? That's more than 200 pounds, eh?
Yeah, well,
a kilogram is what? 2.5 pounds?
2.5 pounds, or 2.4, something like that.
2.5. Okay.
pounds.
All right.
So, so we're talking about what, 560, 600, somewhere around there, pounds.
Yeah. Pounds of cocaine.
That's just one individual.
Yes. Okay.
So the reason why I bring that up is there's been an increase in drug seizures, but there seems to have been an increase in drug trafficking altogether.
Well, I think the evidence would show that.
Yeah.
There seemed to be an increase in drug trafficking because you found this one particular personality who was caught. We ain't know about the others who were not caught, what they had on them. One to just begin to imagine. Because this seemed to be a very serious problem we have. And this person was caught with it in the Bahamas, right?
Well, in Florida waters.
In Florida waters.
What I just mentioned,
Mhm.
they left the Bahamas. And they said, and there seems to be a relationship between drug trafficking and human trafficking.
Yes, I think I understood that on the radio. I was
Yeah.
kind of a little confused over that.
Yeah, this particular gentleman who was intercepted with 250 kilograms of cocaine,
Right.
he told the police over there,
Uh-huh.
first of all, he was working with Bahamians.
Right.
He picked up these drugs in the Bahamas,
Right.
but he was hired to bring people.
Right. That's what I understood on
Remember
the radio.
hearing that?
Yeah,
So,
well, I heard that very clearly.
so he thought he was coming to the Bahamas to pick up persons
Okay.
to take over to Florida.
Right.
And when he got there, he said the boat was loaded up with cocaine. Well, he didn't.
That's his boat or
His boat.
Oh, they put the coke. Oh, I see. Okay.
They put the cocaine on his boat, and
right. Then tell him.
then he went over to Florida.
But there
and-
was no people there.
Well, he was supposed to. He was intercepted before getting up
got
into Dania, which is right next to Fort Lauderdale.
So these people were supposed to be in the Bahamas? or-
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I get you. Yeah.
He came to pick up persons in the Bahamas. So he is only one individual,
Right. I understand.
and we don't have the information, but you would think it's a business for some people.
But I think that's big
It's
business
not
for
a
them.
one-time thing. It's just
No, that's business.
back and forth,
Big
back and
business.
forth,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government is taking a very serious look at whether or not the Bahamas. I don't want to keep pointing at the government, but as a country,
Uh-huh.
are we against drug dealing and human trafficking, or are we complicit? Are we helping?
That's a good question.
the whole,
yeah.
because see what we haven't been talking about a lot, Professor.
Mhm.
In the same case of the Bahamians that were arrested and
Right.
have that case in the Southern District of New York,
Right.
evidence has already come forward against Bahamian authorities suggesting that we are not cooperative.
Now, who are these Bahamian authorities?
Well, we just say the police. The Royal Bahamas. Professor, you something else.
But see,
So
anyhow,
see,
you continue.
okay.
I'll bring my
See,
point on.
Professor, it stands
Yeah.
to reason.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at it like a few Bahamian officials and men from the uniform branches are under indictment in New York.
Uh-huh.
But the whole country is under indictment, in my view.
It would appear so. Yeah.
The whole country is under, all of us
Mhm.
are in New York on trial.
Yes.
The whole Bahamas,
reputation
the
of the country,
reputation
of
of
the
the
country.
country
Yes.
is suffering damage
Right.
based on what is happening.
Yes. Okay.
It's one thing to arrest a few men. It's another thing to not receive cooperation from the government of the Bahamas
Mhm.
in terms of politically, and then also the uniform branches, whether that be the Defense Force or the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, because information is in that case suggesting that our Bahamian officials are not cooperative with the U.S. government. And you just last week you started to mention us not having, from the U.S. Embassy standpoint,
Yes.
us not having an ambassador.
Yeah, that is true.
We have a charge d'affaires.
For 14 years plus.
A charge
Why so long?
the affairs is effectively, see, I don't want to downplay. I got to be careful with this now. It's
No,
like
but we got to
it's like
state it the way it is.
well, it's like an office manager.
Maybe
it's-
even lower than that.
No, Professor.
Lower than an office
But
manager.
this is the team leader on the ground.
We have, that ain't no team leader on no ground. An
Boy,
ambassador is the
Professor,
team
you're
leader.
trying to put it nice.
No, but we have to say it the way it is. They ain't got no ambassador. She ain't no ambassador.
Well, Professor, the country needs to ask the question.
But they ask it 14 years done past.
These are our neighbors and our friends. America.
Who said so?
Well, you're supposed to be, well, that's our neighbor then. That's a neighbor.
Well, let's say they're next door to you.
Okay.
Just like Canada's next door to them.
But they're not too friendly though, right now. I don't know what kind of neighbors that is. But Professor.
See, that's why I need to get what the Secretary of State said. I heard our foreign minister, and I think I will deal with that tape later on, and I heard what the ambassadors, not the ambassador, what the charge d'affaires, whatever that's supposed to mean, say. I am not going to take that word of that particular person when there is someone at the cabinet level, Secretary of State, who made some clear-cut statements. I need to get the information so I could look at what the Secretary of State said about this thing about Cuba and the workers of Cuba and so on. And what is our arrangement, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas with the government of Cuba as it relates to these people coming here to work? See, I think that has to be clear because we have been getting bits and pieces. I heard the Prime Minister talk about money being sent to an agency. I mean, what are we saying?
No,
you mean to tell me after all these years, we ain't know what the procedure is supposed to be? Does that make any sense to you?
It don't make sense to me, but
we've been
Professor?
we've been getting bits and pieces. When you listen to what the foreign minister say, we're going to play that at some point. But I want to get to see what the Secretary of State had to say about this particular situation. I haven't yet gotten that information, but I heard what the charge d'affaires says. But that I don't put too much emphasis on that because that ain't coming from the top. This man is Secretary of State, and he made some very strong statements which affected, and then according to what you hear, the charge d'affaires say they sent it to all the embassies. It ain't nothing to do with that. They ain't care who you send it to, but we are implicated,
right,
in a negative way. If you have something to say about the Bahamas, that's one thing. What you got to say to them other people, ain't none of our business.
Right.
So we had this conversation between, what was reported. We have the tape, but I ain't gonna play that right now. The point is, we got what the foreign minister of the Bahamas said, and also we have what the charge d'affaires says.
Professor, let me add some new information because I tend to come from a different angle, just to broaden our thinking on the whole matter.
But we got to get what the big man said at the top. He's Secretary of State.
He's Secretary of State.
But what he say carries weight, doesn't it?
It carries weight.
And what Donald Trump say carries weight.
Oh, plenty weight. What?
Because he ain't checking for nobody. Well,
Professor?
let's hear what Donald Trump has to say about this thing. And let's hear what the Secretary of State what has to say about it. Then we can listen to the child affairs because she way down the line, man.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
you hear President Trump arrested those natives of Latin America who
Yeah.
came to America,
Right.
shipped them out of the country
Yes.
in the dead of night.
In the dead of night, yes.
Ain't wait till morning. Rounded up the people, sent them out, and did not obey the court order.
Now, where's that matter right now? Are these people
'Cause,
still out of the country?
See, he did it more than once. They're still out of the country. So
Okay.
I'll just touch on it and move on.
Right.
But he did it more than once. The court told him to cease and desist,
Right.
but a different rounding up took place. And instead of waiting until the court had a chance to even respond,
Right.
they took on a new strategy, under direction from the White House. Round up the persons. When you round them up, put them on that plane and let that plane take off immediately.
Mhm.
So the whole process that you would normally go through in terms of Homeland Security, the whole
They were
protocol,
circumvented.
it was all circumvented.
Okay, all right.
And right now, which is, do you realize, Professor, from Donald Trump's explanation,
Right.
the document that he signed was related to you being at war with another country.
I think I understood that. Yes, that is correct.
So literally, the document that he signed was suggesting that he was seeking out gang members that were also, you could say, working with their government back home in
Okay.
Latin America. That's
Okay.
the way he approached it. And this is
Okay.
what they explained,
Okay.
that they are now considering the gang, you could say gang members, as enemy combatants. That's what he signed.
Is that constitutionally sound?
Professor, I don't know.
No, but that's what I'm
I'm not
saying.
sure.
I'm not sure either.
I didn't look into it.
Now, if I know it was in the Bahamas, I'd know that was constitutionally sound.
Well, it's very extreme, though, Professor,
No, but it is extreme.
to say these gang members working along with their governments.
That is very extreme.
That boy,
He may be stepping into territory that he's not legally bound to do so.
Professor, you're suggesting you are at war with the governments in question.
Yes, that's what.
Whether
what
it's
being
Venezuela, whether it's Brazil.
said. Yes, yes.
So it's very serious.
Yeah, that is very serious.
But moving on, I want to introduce some other information now.
Yeah, okay. all right.
Back to what you had commented on, the Secretary of State, Marco
Yes, right.
Rubio,
Marco Rubio. Yeah.
suggesting that they are against the forced labor coming out of Cuba. If,
Right.
in fact, he's scrutinizing whether or not the Bahamian government was engaged with forced labor.
But he ought to know. Does he have any information that we are involved in forced labor with Cuba?
Well, if they had the information, I feel like they would have presented that. But
No, wait. He ain't speculating. You mean a big man like Secretary of State speculating, or he's investigating, if I might use that terminology, whether that is so or not. Now, if he's doing an investigation, I could understand. that.
understood.
Okay, no
Yes,
problem with that.
Yes.
But
It seems,
we gotta hear what he has to say on this thing, man.
It seems politically motivated. Because,
It
like
may,
you said,
it may be.
it
Yeah.
could be.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And because, like you said, if they were doing an
Once
investigation,
but
could
if he,
understand that.
yeah, but see, that's why I got to get his exact wording, his statement. That's what I need to put my hands on. What did the Secretary of State say? What is now public information? Before I listen to what that other particular personality had to say.
Professor, let me give our local officials. I don't know if they're aware of this. I was not aware of this until I searched it up.
Okay.
I became curious.
Yes.
Last week, I may have mentioned it to you. Last week, I took a look at forced labor in America. What is the status? What are the conditions?
I think you did mention it.
Right.
Yes.
So Forbes magazine did a study and a story
Yes.
And it appears like forced labor is taking place in America.
And what's the definition of forced labor? What they say? They
For-
define what it is.
Forced labor is labor that is extracted or persons are coerced to carry out, but
Together.
not for a salary. It's not a working
Not a
relationship.
working relationship.
So you are coerced or forced to do work and you're not paid a salary. So it's not a working relationship. You are either fed
right,
or clothed
clothed,
or possibly even detained
right.
and working against your will.
Okay, all right, I understand.
You know,
okay.
we can get a more detailed, even before I read from this story. Let me go ahead and get a quick definition here, because it is very serious what we are being possibly accused of.
Yes.
Forced labor is unfree labor. Any work relation, especially in modern times,
Yes.
in which people are employed against their will.
Okay, all right.
Or threat of destitution, or detention, or violence.
Okay.
So this is very serious.
So they're saying that is happening in the United States.
This is happening in the United States according to, let me go ahead and read this report. This is Forbes magazine.
Forbes magazine.
That's it. And they use, maybe for legal reasons, the headline reads, forced labor may be common in the U.S. food chain.
Food chain.
A new study says.
Okay, maybe.
Involved with the production of food.
Okay. All right.
And this was a report that was published revealing that forced labor may be happening within the borders of the United States, as opposed to abroad, where it has been traditionally expected.
Okay, I understand.
So here are the key facts. Out of all food products, and they excluded seafood, but all other food products that were sold in the U.S. and produced by forced labor, 62% of those products were likely produced in the United States.
That's quite a lot, yeah.
With the highest risk coming from the production of animal-based proteins, processed fruits,
yes,
and vegetables,
okay,
and discretionary foods, products like sweeteners or coffee, wine, and beer.
Yes.
So, and then it says, more often than not, when forced labor produces the foods that Americans eat, it likely happened within the United States instead of foreign locations.
Okay.
That imported food to the U.S.
Okay. That's very interesting. I got to get a copy of that report.
The author, we do have a call. The author of the paper believed many people assume that forced labor is happening mostly in foreign countries
rather than the U.S.
Yeah. But they're saying there's more of it happening in the U.S. borders than outside.
You got to see what the secretary got to say about that. Yeah. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good afternoon, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon to your guests and good afternoon, Bahamas.
Yes.
Professor, I find out some information. I gotta say, fair use, education use only. Man, I find out some information. First, let me say this before I go. You know, Cuba, them day, that's a thing country, and you don't do nothing else. You go through the government. We put that on the table. Okay, now I find out some information. Man, you ain't gonna like Fred Mitchell, man. You know, people, I ain't like him myself. But man, the information come from him. Now, my friend, I want you to check this out. Fred Mitchell cannot answer. I shouldn't use his name, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs cannot answer the whatever we call affairs, the thing affairs. I thought that's the highest post going on. They say a minister have to talk to a minister. He cannot. I say, Mato, when I learned that, I don't know if it's true, but he cannot answer that question. He has to talk direct to a minister. Bobby, we think our minister low now. I thought the Shagar affairs, that's the most highest post going.
Okay.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
So is he saying he has to talk to another minister?
Yeah, I can't. No. See, to me personally, right? When I meet the Shaggar Affairs before, he run for the. They run when that lady runs. She run everything. I thought that was the highest thing.
I get
I
you.
feel so good, but he
Okay.
cannot. He cannot answer her. He has to answer a minister or someone. I didn't know our ministers like that. But I learned a lot. I didn't know. That's what that's the information I get.
No, I
he's learned a lot. I learned a lot from him, though.
Okay.
Did you say something?
No. Okay, you're talking about the foreign minister of our country and the
Yes,
charge affairs of the United States.
You can't answer the Shaggar Affairs. When I meet the Shaggar Affairs, I thought that was the highest post.
No, man, that's a low down post. Ain't no high post.
Well,
That's just
y'all
one of
need
them.
to educate me, man.
That's one of them workers in the embassy. That's who that is.
Yeah, the minister, our minister, he can't talk to that. He can't answer nothing she says.
I know why he got into that conversation.
No, he answered that. He can't answer that. He don't answer them
okay.
questions.
But
He has to go across to a minister.
Okay, I didn't really play the tape yet because I wanted to hear what the
Well, you play it. I don't play it. I won't hear it too.
We have it, but the thing is, I wanted to hear first what the Secretary of State said. I think it's Marco. What is his name again? Rubio.
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, he got to go. He got to go talk to that
I got to
person.
hear. No, but I want to hear what he had to say.
Yeah,
about this particular situation. Then I could listen to this personality in them.
Yeah, our foreign minister guy talk to that person. They can't talk to nobody else.
But I can't knock him for that.
Man, I didn't know there was that. No, I didn't know. I just learning. Everybody just learning.
That's how this world operates.
Well,
Okay.
It's
Y'all
like
have a blessed day.
you have a
thank
blessed
you.
day too.
Yeah.
It's like a game of chess.
Yeah.
Because the charge d'affaires is acting in the absence of an ambassador. Somebody has to manage the office.
Well, that's just an office manager. I ain't no ambassador.
Yeah, see, okay. I understand. I hear you. Because the two roles are different too.
No, they are different.
But the Bahamas needs to ask the question. Because the same lady, Miss Furnish, she could have been appointed as ambassador.
Yeah.
They could have. They could have
14 years have passed.
Yeah, they could have. They could have said, but I believe they withheld the name ambassador, for two reasons. I don't. Let me not go into that too far. Let me not go into that. See, because the thing about it is,
all we have to do, Mr. Halle, is state what is. 14 years has passed.
No ambassador.
We ain't got no ambassador. That's a fact.
Yes, no ambassador.
Now, whatever they call it, charge of affairs, whatever, office manager, assistant manager.
Yeah.
They ain't nothing to do with that. But the point is, we ain't got no ambassador.
Correct.
That's just the way it is. See, if we state the facts as they are, we can't go wrong.
Well, I believe it is.
Now, why that is so, well, then the government needs to explain that.
And then we don't want to get into speculation.
No, we don't want
I'm very
speculation.
reluctant because I know the U.S. government just wants to send a message to the Bahamas.
Well, then make your message clear then.
Well, they might as well say it more clearly.
Well, that's what they ought to.
Yeah.
Give it to Donald Trump and let Donald Trump say it. I think really, rather than going through these lower officials, give it to the big man at the top, and then he'll tell you what he got to say.
Understood.
And then we would know. You see, the problem I notice with these people, you got too many things being said, and they are contradictory statements, just like in our cabinet today. Contradictory statements by different ministers. And then the prime minister got to come out and see how he could try to pull it back together and make a definitive statement.
Yeah.
That should not have to be. I hear the music in the background. This is Professor Sidney McGarter, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Nassau Tile is celebrating 95 years in business by giving you 20% off store-wide. Catch the sale on all tiles, thin set grout mosaics, and more. Save up to 30% off select wall tiles and 30% off ceramic and select mosaic and backsplash tiles. Our experts will guide you in selecting the right tiles. Visit Nassau Tile on Doswell Street or call 322-2100 to make your dream space a reality. Don't miss the marvelous March anniversary sale from March 24th to 29th. Follow Nassau Tile on Facebook and Instagram for more details.
Do you love fresh flowers at low prices? If so, come into Petal Pusher's Elegant Florist, your event planner. We can't wait to help you with that perfect bouquet or basket for that special person, or book us for your event. We specialize in decorating yachts, weddings, proms, funeral events, and so much more. Create that smile by visiting us on Bay Street, opposite the old Hotel Corona, or call us at 326-2663 and place your order today.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
Why is Bahamian shoppers know when times are hard and things are tough? It's more sensible and convenient to shop at YK's Fashion Center. YK's has slashed prices on brand name clothing and shoes by up to 50%, including academics, Clarks, polo, and hundreds of jeans and techie pants, and as much as 70% on selected items. Choose from a large selection of beds, sheets, and towels, all at affordable prices. YK's has 3 locations to serve you: Rama Avenue, Prince Charles, Street South, near the Charles Hotel. Why cares? Where you can afford to look
Boy,
good.
I need this fridge, I need that stove in the corner there, and I think I might need that washer too. How in the world I gonna pay for all these things? No worries. At Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center, for a limited time only, we've got inter financing with 0% interest and a 50% down payment, and easy weekly payments as low as $20 a week. We make it possible for you to take home what you need today. So you telling me it's a weekly payment of $20? Just $20? Yeah. And here's all you need to apply: your job letter, a pay stub, a valid ID, your utility bill, and a stamped salary deduction form. Boy, that was such a wonderful experience. I got everything I needed, and I didn't even break my bank for it. So what are you waiting for? Visit Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center on Mackey Street today and take advantage of our hassle-free insurance financing. Your dream home is just one application away. Contact us at 698-0123 or WhatsApp 557-2522. Bahamas Liquidation Auction Center,
where you say hello to goodbye.
From Cable Beach to Montague, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney McArdle, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Payments on the show, we try to get accurate and precise information. I have my producer looking up some serious information with Marco Rubio. I think that's the name of the Secretary of State. We're trying to see what he said specifically. We have a report about forced labor, but we want to get any actual commentary from the Secretary of State about forced labor by the Cuban authorities as it relates to their doctors, their nurses, where they be sending people all over the world to make money. Apparently, the United States government has a problem with that, and they look at it as being forced labor. What is the interpretation of forced labor? People who are working, but they are working against their will. Now, some people try to pretty it up and make it look as if these people are. And what is the arrangement with the Bahamas government as it relates? Are they making a arrangement with the Cuban government, which is one thing, or do they have individual agreements with those Cuban doctors, those Cuban nurses individually? See, that is the clarity we need, Bahamians. And so we've been getting bits and pieces, this piece, that little bit, but we got to see the whole picture. And I heard the Prime Minister talking about they send money to an agency. How much money you been sending to this agency and how long that been going on for? We must have a record of something, Bahamians, as to how the money was being paid out. Did they get it in cash? Did they get it directly to their bank accounts, or it went to the Cuban government or the Cuban ministry, whoever's in charge, and they collect all the money and then give a little piece to them people who working here, say they're working in the Bahamas. See, we have to understand what is going on, because in the Bahamas, If I do anything for the government, they got to pay me my money directly. I send it to my bank account or my account. That ain't going nowhere else. But the point is, apparently, that is not so with these Cuban people. We have to fix that. Go ahead, Brother Hyla.
Well, Professor, first of all, I want to state clearly that I do not condone any type of forced labor. And I do not agree with communism form of government.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that while there is contention with Cuba, between the USA and Cuba,
Yeah.
I question the real reason, the full reason why the contention. Because again, there's forced labor going on in America.
Okay.
Deal with that. Could we get an update from Marco Rubio as to the state of forced labor in America?
In America. In the United States.
In the United States.
That's right. Yeah.
That's your territory.
Let him talk that.
This is a sovereign nation, the Bahamas. We do believe, because some people out there listening to me, Professor, would say, what? Sound like I is supporting this relationship with Cuba.
Yes.
No, we should have a proper relationship with Cuba. Now, Cuba has a policy, whereas they pay their doctors and their nurses. Now, I don't know if it's still where it's $50 a month, $100 a month. They pay for their life, really, their housing, their food, their clothing, their shelter. I'm not saying it's right, it's correct, but there's something called the Cuban Revolution that is still going on. There are those who do not agree with the Cuban Revolution. They don't have to be a part of what the government is doing through medicine. But what you will find is there are many doctors and nurses that agree with the Cuban Revolution that say, well, okay, if you pay all of my expenses, they are like ambassadors. That's how they view themselves. Many of them, they themselves are ambassadors. If all of my life expenses are paid, I don't have to think about the expense of anything. And I commit my life to medicine. That's my choice. I'll commit my life to medicine and what Cuba gives to the medical world. So I'm not saying that I agree that we should not pay the doctors directly. It's just that Cuba has a way of operating. Now we can go back and say, listen, we understand that you have a way of dealing with your doctors and nurses, but as the Bahamas, we can take a position. We still want to pay them directly, whatever that amount is.
Okay.
And then the International Labor Organization would not have a problem with that. Let me move on to this, Professor. Okay. I know in the very near future, I will say more on Cuban medicine. I've not said much about Cuban medicine at all the whole time that I've been here. Friday, when we left the studio, Professor, we would have heard somebody right nearby the studio say, y'all need to talk about the vaccine. Okay?
Yeah, I did hear that, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at this. Professor, Cuba has COVID-19 treatment. Let me get straight to it. The Cuban treatment for COVID-19. What do you think will happen if you take the American treatment for COVID-19 and put it on the side of the Cuban treatment for COVID-19? Put them on the side of one another scientifically and study the effects or the effectiveness of this medicine. What am I saying? Professor, I said it before on the show. I don't know if I was very clear or whatnot, but I had the good fortune of representing a small group representing, let me just say my team. We try to be non-political here, but for the sake of a point, we have a national debate in the Bahamas, a national debate between political parties. I happen to have participated in that debate. The information that I brought forward, and it wasn't the full information, I brought forward information that the vaccine that we were taking was not an effective vaccine. I'm trying not to say a company name or whatever the case is, right? But we had a vaccine in the Bahamas. While we were taking it, the news out of London was that this vaccine is not effective. So that's how serious the matter of Cuba is. And I believe that there are those who are fighting Cuban medicine, not because they have a problem with forced labor. They have a problem with Cuban medicine, possibly. I'll put it to you like that, Professor.
Okay. That's a possibility, yes.
Particularly
if they believe that the medicine is more effective than their own.
Professor, if Ebola were to break out anywhere in the Caribbean, who do you turn to? Whether it's Ebola, whether it's malaria, who do you turn to? What I'm saying, and let me be clear because I don't want anybody to accuse me of holding back. Professor, there's certain diseases that the international community is not strong on solving the problems. But because of business and money, we still go with, the powers that be.
Yes.
We just keep the money flowing the way it's flowing. And, I don't even want to stay on this topic much longer, but Professor, there's a bill that Mr. Marco Rubio worked on.
Yes.
It is nicknamed Cut Profits to Cuba. Cut Profits to Cuba. If you were to Google that, you would see Senator Marco Rubio and others. They're working to strangle Cuba. Is what is happening. And if forced labor is a problem, what about China? What about Russia?
That's good.
Could we talk about how Russia deals with its people and paying its people? Does anybody have a problem with that?
That's a serious issue.
Is there forced labor in China? Are you concerned about forced labor in China?
And you got hundreds of millions over there. I believe you have a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Only Berenice Johnson, the original fight-I must give thanks to the Almighty God through Jesus Christ of Nazareth and the Holy Spirit enveloping us. And it's divine to be Bahamian.
Mm-hmm.
Our Bahamas is not a part or have been named because we, in partnership with the Reagan administration, with the finances, in the highly classified financial crimes, has been a part of the solution, and we are not part of the problem.
What do you specifically say when the Bahamas is not named, and what you specifically are referring to?
When Marco Rubio, they say they are having meetings with, I think, Jamaica, Suriname, Trinidad, and some others. Now, all of this mix-up, you, Mr. Sidney Thompson, on Miss Philippa Russell's show again, y'all queried this 1995 file when this $100 was being paid for every Haitian national who were being returned. You recall that? Do you?
Yes, I do recall
with the
it.
Jean, Roni Jean, when Congresswoman, I think Frederica Wilson, she played a pivotal role between the Bahamas and I think one group, what Miss Russell was bitterly against. And all of y'all who were on the show used to say, who was paying this $100 or who authorized the $100?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, the Cuban, I think it's peonish, it would be classified, I stand corrected. That happened in an accord signed. It would happen again in 2000, the same year, and this case was under my mortal boss, former Prime Minister Hubert Alexander Ingram administration. However, when this accord was signed, it is alleged to have been signed by former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Janet Boswick. I spoke with her personally over at the F&M headquarters, and I told them they have files on the Musgrove sisters. I spoke with another first woman who was the speaker when she appeared on her sister's show, and with Danny Dumfrey Mackey Johnson. I said they have an almanac on the late Oscar Johnson and E.P. Roberts Sr. and Jr. over in Florida. Now, I only brought this out because the PIU, that the young Marino Hines, who was the son of the chaperone of the women police that I was in 1980, thank God he admitted that they don't know anything about paranormal. We were instructed to continue on the investigations because I share once again about the eugenic experimentations and how I became the lead investigator because of my son who was experimented on in the Princess Margaret Hospital unknowingly to the ministers of health and the entire Bahamian government. Now, there were technocrats who were bringing these people in. Now, they have the suspects of those names. And that is one of the reasons why I said both former F&M national security ministers have failed the Bahamian people. Okay? So that is one of the reasons. And I told all of these Johnson people, the GNN, all those of Oscar Johnson lineage, that they are not a part of me because they have high-profile inquiries of the late Oscar Johnson of certain activities that went over in Florida especially. And when they come now, they say the GNN group of companies, they must be very careful because anything involving any of the Doge inquiry, I told them that from 1912 is about the finances of the Bahamas, and we have access to all types of money.
Yeah, but Berenice, we're having access to all types of money, but we're not benefiting from it.
Because, listen to me very close, and I want everybody listening. These same groups, because they are afraid, and the expatriates who set up these women and this Johnson, this GNN crew, they are panicking. And they want to make it look like it's the politicians. It's not the politicians.
Berenice.
Yes.
What's going to be done about it now? The people still suffering.
Yes, well, this is where I told you, heard on the other station, you need history. Mr. Fred Mitchell is not a part of this foolishness. You have one transgender
but Berenice,
cabinet minister.
We're still not getting to the root of the matter.
Let me
What's
share something. You keep interrupting.
Okay.
This former cabinet minister, F&M former cabinet minister, who has put in place to have transgender sex change from a man to a woman.
Berenice.
He is promoting
Berenice,
this.
you're going on so many other things. The people out there suffering for the lack of support, financial support. What can the government of the Bahamas do about that?
I already spoke with Miss Lula Smith, left a message. It will come together collectively.
Where's the Prime Minister fit into all of this?
The Prime Minister will present this evidence.
When is he going to do it? When is he going to do it? When is he going to do it? Berenice, when is he going to do it?
As soon as these people stop putting him on a spin.
Okay.
All right? Listen. The only information, the only information that is relevant is from the PIU who had to sacrifice, was not paid from 1984. That's the
Okay.
Royal Bahamas Police Force. That is
All
in
right.
the Guardian paper
Okay.
headline.
Could I ask, Ms. Johnson? I know normally when you call, I pretty much never respond. But when you speak of the payments from the past that were not paid, what about the payments that are not paid now in 2025? What about coming up into the present now? And we haven't had payments for the police for COVID-19.
This is why I stay on the airwaves. Mr. Hyler, you spoke about one time that the Bahamian dollar was depreciated when you were over in the U.S. That's when I got involved and called on answered you. You
Okay.
remember that, right?
I remember.
Okay. Well, this is the flip-flop that they keep saying that they will vote out every 5 years. When you vote out every 5 years, that entertains electronic currency transfer, the ECT. This is the advanced dimensional technology that the spokesman for the FNM, who talk about pintad, and the FNM. We must address this collectively. This is a national problem.
Yeah, what is the government's position on this, Berenice? Because you seem to be the only one who got all this knowledge, all this information. I hearing a crap from the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance.
The same operatives, some of them are in 99.5.
Okay.
They know of who, what, and why.
Okay.
And Mrs. Janet Bosher came out and said that the FNM is not unified.
All
She
right.
knows why, because I warned her she will need Mr. Ingram and
Okay.
John Henry
Berenice,
Bosher Sr.
you're moving into so many different directions,
No,
but
I
thanks
want
for your
everybody
contribution.
listening.
Thanks for your contribution. See, I'm trying to entertain her, but she is going all over the place, talking about people who are not members of the current administration. I'm asking her, what is the purpose of the current administration? We got these problems. She talk about PIU investigate. People in Baintown are interested in that. They know they ain't got nothing in their hand. They're suffering, and they expect the government of the Bahamas to assist them.
Professor,
What do you say, Hyder?
on the same note, my heart goes out to our uniform branches, our police officers.
But they can speak for themselves. Can't they not do that?
They can, but in a limited fashion now. See, because they can't protest. That's
What you mean
against.
they can't protest?
They cannot protest.
They don't have freedom to do certain things
They-
according to the Constitution.
They are doing what they are moved to do at this point. They
But
only
they don't look as if they're doing
no,
anything.
they made a
It's only
statement.
Berenice.
No, they made a statement.
What kind of statement?
They are requesting payment for work done during COVID-19.
And they ain't got that money yet. You know how long COVID-19 has been on for?
Well,
It's about 5 years.
we expect to see some movement on that now because they waited long enough. It's time to get the police sorted out.
Okay, all right. Do we have a call on the line? Mr. Belusa?
Yes.
Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. President Thompson, Dr. Hyler, Ken Alana from Freeport, Grand Bahama. Yeah, how y'all doing?
Hey, good day. Good day.
Okay,
Good day, Kendall.
Professor Thompson, this go to you, and this go to you too, Dr. Hyler. I just got two requests, and I will go. I won't take long like Darren.
Yeah, too long.
Okay, so Professor Thompson, I hear we worrying about this new 7-run fund. We worrying about this here. We worrying about that here. But I got a video, Dr. Hyler, Friday in Grand Bahama, and you can say the whole Bahamas. We had planes fly over. It was Friday morning. A lot of people had to seen it. Friday morning in the sky, had a cloud debris going north to west, had the cloud debris going south to the west and southeast to north. Now, Dr. Hyler, Professor Thompson, like I said in the past, we can't worry about what's going on yesterday. We got to worry about what's happening in front of us now. We're going to have a new case of germs, of disease right now, because it rained yesterday, so it bring down the chemical with the metals and the oxygen debris, the radiation to make us sick. Now they're gonna come up. Everybody gonna start getting sick now. Dr. Hyler, everybody gonna start getting sick, and the new narrative, we got to go to the hospital and take these shots. But for us to prevent that, we got to get out these cars. We got to walk to work. We got to walk from home, walk to work. We got to stop eating the chicken. We got to stop eating the heavy food. If the cow and the giraffe and the elephant eat grass and weigh tons, they trick us like we need to eat so much to live.
Mm-hmm.
They slowing us down by our breathing. This oxygen coming gonna stop a lot of breathing, gonna infect our respiration system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to keep healthy and stay healthy, and that's what we have to do, Dr. Hyler. We can't worry about yesterday. We got some new stuff coming in front of us.
Yeah.
What we got to worry about now?
So caller, explain about this debris you said was in the sky.
Friday morning. Friday morning. Everybody in the Bahamas, it was east. It was more east. So Nassau could see it clear. East End could see it, but Freeport could see it too.
Okay.
The debris is every time they're gonna. You see, they come with the bird flu with the eggs, and they come with the this new hot and cold. So their narrative is Professor Thompson and Dr. Hyler is when they put these planes in the air and form these clouds, we think it's nothing, but it dropped radiation and chemical. And when it rained yesterday, just a little bit, just to bring it down. So now, Professor Thompson, please listen. Dr. Hyler, please listen. Y'all smart, intelligent, but this is spiritual right now. This ain't books and this ain't paper. This spiritual. The ancestors killing them from the ice wall. The oxygen and chemical from the ice wall to kill the reptilians and the evil. They combating it by killing us with their chemical. There's a war going on, spiritual and physical too. Spiritual with them, they kill them, and spiritual, physical, they kill us. Now, heed to my attention, Dr. Hyler and Professor Thompson.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday and Friday is now. We can't worry about delusion yesterday. Yesterday gone.
Understood.
Let's worry about this chemical, what they and all can come into play. First Thompson, you remember a lot of elder people start dying lately. Couple weeks ago, yesterday, couple days ago, and let me tell you one thing, First Thompson. You're right. Black people don't kill themselves. We don't commit suicide. We need help to do that. Our melanated life and our melanated black people, we're not trained to do that. That's not of us. We need help to do that.
Okay.
So anybody who killing themselves is a plan, is an orchestrated plan. Maybe to put that statistic up. It's a plan for everything. You got to pay attention. It's conscious, Dr. Hyler. It's a chess game.
Understood.
I appreciate your information because I keep saying,
you have a good day too.
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you very
your
much.
contribution.
I kept saying I haven't seen any. I mean, where's this coming from? And I spoke about the suicides because I'm questioning in that. I see he has a point that he's mentioned about people are getting help or listening to something or following something else which is foreign to us. Because you go to church on Saturday and Sunday and you're talking about you committing suicide. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all. I know that we got plenty of little ones in my family and all they want is find something to eat.
Well, Professor, you over the next few weeks, Professor, you got to take a look at, because notice you say those, you can't believe people are doing this, not people who go into church. What about people who are not going to church? What about people who go into church, but even though they go in there, where's their mind? Where is their spirit? What are they experiencing in their homes? You talk about it later. You talk about it later, but it's a lot going on out there, Professor. Not everybody grew up the way you grew up and experienced what you experienced.
Yeah, that may be.
After the break, though.
Okay, this is Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We're having a very interesting discussion. The lines are open. 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. The caller just mentioned something very important. He said that somehow people are getting help in doing some things that you see happening now today in our country and even outside our country. This is Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
Do you love fresh flowers at low prices? If so, come into Petal Pusher's Elegant Florist, your event planner. We can't wait to help you with that perfect bouquet or basket for that special person, or book us for your significant life event. We specialize in decorating yachts, weddings, proms, funeral events, and so much more. Create that smile by visiting us on Bay Street, opposite the old Hotel Corona, or call us at 326-2663 and place your order today.
Bahamian feel-good food in the right atmosphere. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whichever you choose. It's the Cricket Club Restaurant at Haynes Point, West Bay Street. The food is off the chain. Bahamian breakfast. We talking stew cow, stew fish, and sheeptown sauce. And for lunch, crab soup, okra soup, and pea soup and dumpling. Man! And for dinner, they got mahi seafood platter or steak and shrimp. Only $28.95 per person. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Cricket Club Restaurant. Call 326-4720 for reservations. Oh, and don't forget, there's a live band, The Magic Touch, every Friday night. See
Wise
you
Bahamian
there.
shoppers know when times are hard and things are tough, it's more sensible and convenient to shop at YK's Fashion Center. YK's has slashed prices on brand name clothing and shoes by up to 50%, including academics, Clarks, polo, and 100 of jeans and dicky pants. And as much as 70% on selected items. Choose from a large selection of beds, sheets, rugs, and towels, all at affordable prices. YK's has 3 locations to serve you: Bahama Avenue, Prince Charles, and East Street South near the Charles Hotel. YK's, where you can afford to look good.
Hey, Shoe Depot has what you and your wallet need. They are stuffed with stylish and exciting footwear, handbags, wallets, and accessories for all occasions. Shoes for the professional, casual, cute and glitzy, skid resistant, and ultra comfortable for those long work days. Shoe Depot has got you. Oh, and be sure to join our Shoe Depot Rewards Club for extra savings and earn points for special benefits. Visit either of our 2 locations, Golden Gate Plaza or the Palmdale Plaza. At Shoe Depot, you'll find the best selection of the best styles and at the best prices.
Steve Harvey here from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. Everybody knows that I love to chill out with great music. There's only one place you can get this tonight at 7 p.m.
As soon as you clock off from work, make sure you lock right into me. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm, inviting you to come on over. I've got all of that R&B ear candy that you love. Plus, we'll engage in conversations inside a confession of love and so much more. And you never know who's going to drop by. It's The Quiet Storm, all getting underway tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on Global 99.5. I'm Lenny Green from The Quiet Storm.
From East Street to Blue Hill Road, it's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Yeah, let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney McGarter Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Bahamians, we have to be very careful as to who we get our information from. You're going to see a lot of deception, a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of lies, a lot of deceits floating around in our country. We have to be very careful who we get information from. If we don't have God in our knowledge, we're going to be in big trouble. Go ahead, Brother Hyland.
Yeah, let's go to Facebook, Professor.
Yes, sir.
We have Morris saying Grand Bahama is in the house of constitutional talks. Dane is saying the law that Trump is using to deport gang members is called the Alien Enemy Act. And another person saying more names are going to be called related to the case, the court case.
Okay.
Say more names are going to be called.
I hope they'll call the names of those people who received the cocaine.
And that corrupt police made a deal with the feds
All and they're all facing life sentences.
Who are these feds? What does that mean?
Meaning the federal government or the prosecutors up in the Southern District of New York.
Wait a minute.
It hasn't happened yet, but they're saying that it happened. But it hasn't.
You mean the persons who were
arrested?
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to get clarity.
But just for the public's knowledge, I mean, we haven't heard any reports of an actual signing of a deal yet.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay,
but they are being offered a deal, and they are considering the deal.
Oh, that is.
And let me say the deal: the Bahamians that were arrested on the conspiracy to import.
Yeah.
They either can continue the court case.
But didn't they plead did they plead guilty or not guilty? What did they plead? Do we know?
I don't recall. I know we read it at the time.
Yes.
But I'm not sure what they pleaded.
Plead guilty, not guilty. Okay.
You know,
so why are they offering this plea deal to them? What that's supposed to mean?
Because you can get more persons. You can get them sometimes to mention some names of their accomplices in the Bahamas.
I think we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Well, I want to correct Dr. Hyler. He on it, and I want to correct you a little bit, Dr. Hyler. They made agreement already, Dr. Hyler. I've been through the federal government system. That's why I'm in the Bahamas now. They have made agreement. They plead. Once they plead undercover, they ain't bringing out yet. They don't give all. They agree to give all the names. They agree to give all the characters that don't get that life. Now they're gonna get close to life, but they ain't gonna get that life. One day they might get out or they might die there. But they made a deal that they got all the names, they got all the information already. So when they come to court again, they're gonna display that and give them the time.
But
so the girls don't give time right away.
Yeah.
You make a deal, and then the second one they tell you what time you're facing. Then the third time they sentence you.
So
there's 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, caller, let me see if I can understand you clearly. You're saying that the Bahamians, persons who are implicated in this particular matter, have made a deal with who?
They already made a deal with the federal government.
The federal government.
They already made a deal. That's why they satisfied. So now the next time they come, they're gonna say what time they're facing. Then the other time they're gonna give them the time. But they already got all the information they needed to have to reach this point right here.
That means now we will know who the ones who received the cocaine then.
After they done give them their time, they're going to indict they're going to investigate everybody. Because it ain't about catching one person. It's about going on and catching the main culprit.
But do you know whether you have seen anything or heard anything as to who are the ones who received the cocaine? Because from what I understand,
Chief Curtis and the defense officer, the two they call Friday on the news. They made the deal already. All you need is two to make a deal to bring down everybody.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for your.
So you got all your information, Dr. Hyler, but they made the deal already. We just don't know that deal. We just don't know the names yet.
Well, we hear you.
Yeah,
from our standpoint, we only could say what is reported.
What is reported? Yeah. If he's
but I understand you too. We understand one another.
Dr. Hyler. One day we got to talk because my creator made me experience everything through life to talk about it.
Okay.
I wasn't bad. I just gone through everything to speak about it.
Okay, understood. So you went through the experiences for a reason, so you could share with others.
My life is a reason. That's why I'm talking to y'all today.
Well, thank you for your contribution.
We thank God for protecting you and keeping you.
Okay, well that's
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So he adds a little bit more to it.
Yeah,
I want him to tell us who got the cocaine.
We're gonna let the officers and the federal government state that. But
if they have all the information they need, then they should be able to tell us at the end of the 60 days who got the cocaine.
Right, gotcha.
Because they say tons of cocaine. That's what the man tells me.
Yeah.
It comes through the Bahamas.
I hear you.
And went over to them other people.
Professor Thompson is saying we do have a call behind us, behind us. Thompson is saying, I was just about to ask a question. For as small as Cuba is, why are the USA don't like them? Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Have you answered if it's their medical records? Okay. All right. A call?
Yeah. We have a caller.
Yes.
Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, what's happening?
Professor Hyler.
Hey, good day. Good day, sir.
Caller, do you know anything about who had received this cocaine? Because they say tons of cocaine have been coming
Well,
into the
see-
Bahamas and going into the United States.
Well, see, let me tell you something about the United States of America. It's
Okay.
cheaper. You get catch trying to carry 10 kilos of cocaine into the United States than for them to catch you on conspiracy charges. You see? It may not very well be quote-unquote cocaine, but once they catch you on charges of conspiracy to enter the United States, they could put a ton of cocaine on you with conspiracy. You get more time in the United States for conspiracy because they could put any number on it than if you get catch with 1 kilo of coke.
Right.
Now, the guys over there that's singing like a canary, when you get catch with conspiracy, you could get up to 100, 200 years because there is no limitation as to what the feds could put on you, what they think you may have brought or was going to bring in the United States. So that's why them fellas taking a plea bargain. That is the way a plea bargain should work. Over here, our attorney general, what's his name, the Minister of Wayne Monroe, is throwing out plea bargains. He don't even know must see what that means. When you give a plea bargain,
Is that in our law? Is it a plea bargain?
no, this is something that he just started several years ago. He's adamant on these plea bargains. He giving plea bargains to fellas with getting catch red-handed with guns and stuff in the house.
Well,
you don't do that.
No, you don't
When you do a plea bargain, you give me something, I give you something. That's how that works.
Oh, okay.
You see, so they got to get it right. You understand now? I heard Dr. Hyler saying about the relationship between Cuba, Russia, China. See, what you got to understand when it comes to the Americans, if you don't have some sort of diplomatic relationship with them, yes, Russia is communist, and so is Beijing, but they do a lot of trade, and they still have some type of diplomatic stuff, so they ain't gonna come down hard on them, as well as Beijing and Russia, them, they superpowers. So you don't deal with them like the little fella around the block who trying to put 4 Russian ships right under America arm in his driveway.
Okay.
See, that's the difference.
Yeah.
You understand? They can bully Cuba because Cuba is a little fella try to do some things once or twice.
Right.
And that is the problem with what's happening over there. And this is GNN from the GNN group of companies.
Yeah, I know.
All right. That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you
All
for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
It's interesting what you will have to say about these kinds of things.
Yeah, you know what's so unfortunate is right up until now, Professor, there are votes taken at the United Nations to end the embargo against Cuba.
Okay.
And most countries around the world want to see Cuba freed from this embargo.
Okay.
But the embargo continues. You were about to say?
Yeah, the embargo. This is put on them by the United States.
Yes.
But the other nations could rebel against the embargo, can they?
They can.
So why don't they just do that and forget about the United States?
Professor, it is not as easy as it sounds. The last vote, I'm looking at it here, 2023.
Okay.
Just to give an idea to the public.
Right.
187 nations
Okay.
voted to end the embargo.
So once they voted to end the embargo, what does that mean? Does the embargo end at that point?
No,
What
because the U.S. government still persists on carrying. I'm looking at the names here. There are only 3 to 4 nations that vote along with the U.S. government. Only 3 or 4 nations.
Why don't you say 187?
187 nations voted
So that means
to free Cuba.
To free Cuba. Now,
From this embargo.
Okay. Now, how will they free Cuba from this embargo? Or is it still dependent on the United States?
It's all depending on the United States. It still depends on the United States because nobody
Nobody wants to take action against the United States, even though they voted. So the United Nations is not democratic.
It can't be. 187 nations say to end the embargo.
That's correct.
Well, then all I have to do is rebel against the United States.
And then, okay,
Because you use only 2 or 3 others.
Let me read it. This is from the United Nations webpage.
Okay, yeah.
Professor. Cuba spoke, and this vote was taken in 2023. That's the latest. It's not the only one. That's just the latest one.
Latest one, yeah.
Those in favor, 187.
Okay.
Those against, the United States and Israel. That's it.
The United States and Israel voted against it.
Right.
Well, then you knock them 2 out then.
And Ukraine abstained from voting.
Okay, but you got to rest them on side.
But the Cuban foreign minister, Bruno Rodriguez Perea, introduced a draft legislation.
Mhm.
The embargo is 60, they call it the blockade, 60 years long.
Right.
And he put forward a case that it violates the rights of all Cuban men and women. So, and he said that families lack goods. There are long lines in Cuba. Prices are high. The government of Cuba is making great efforts to feed its people, but the blockade deprives the agricultural industry of foods to buy animal feed, equipment, because Cuba cannot buy equipment from other nations. That's a part of the embargo. Anyone that sells to Cuba, the United States takes an attack against them. Let me go a step further. I didn't want to go this deep into Professor. During COVID-19, remember they needed respirators?
Yeah.
And there was every nation was seeking out respirators.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, I remember that.
Cuba struck up a deal with a European company to provide respirators for Cuba.
Yeah.
The United States blocked that deal to stop Cuba from receiving respirators for their hospitals during a medical crisis. The company was sanctioned that was about to go through with the deal. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, an American company ended up buying that manufacturer of respirators. And that's how that went. So Cuba now had to find a way to function without the respirators. And they're so creative, they did so.
Okay.
It turns out they did not need the respirators. They found a way,
A creative way.
the creative way to work without the respirators. And guess what ended up happening? Persons who went on the respirators ended up getting more infection. They found out later that it made matters worse when you put persons on respirators.
Okay.
Cuba is who Italy called. Italy is a strange place. Italy did not pay any attention to any COVID restrictions. They just wanted to party. Sorry to put it that way.
I remember that.
But they were out partying. They were out late night, moving up and down. They did not listen to the lockdown restrictions, and they suffered immensely. Even the priests, hundreds and hundreds of priests in Italy passed away because they now had to be receiving the bodies of dead Italians, thousands of persons. Wow. You know, I say this story, Professor. Italy asked the European Union for help. Generally speaking, the entire European Union said we need resources for ourselves. We need our money, we need equipment, we need the supplies, and Italy was on their own, and Italy called Cuba. Italy called Cuba because the infection was out of hand. It was rampant. They were losing more lives than almost any other nation.
I think I remember that quite well.
Professor, what the world doesn't remember is that Italy called Cuba, and Cuba sent doctors and nurses to Italy. And they contained the situation.
Okay.
They brought it under control. The whole COVID subsided. But people are not asking why. Why
it subsided?
Why it subsided?
Yeah.
And if I were to go a little deeper, even China, we only remember the outbreak in Wuhan.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wuhan was
yeah.
decimated.
Yeah.
So who helped Wuhan? Cuba helped Wuhan. Cuba stepped into Wuhan and destroyed the COVID. So this thing goes deep. They have a deep working knowledge of overcoming these diseases.
Okay.
And so I'm keeping a watchful eye, not just on America and Marco Rubio, but I really question the real intent of this heavy-handedness
Yeah.
that's coming down on Cuba.
Right.
And I got to say the disclaimer again. I'm not for communism, and I really want to see the Cuban people more free to live their lives and to.
So what would be the? I don't know if they made any other action.
Mhm.
Are they still waiting on the U.S. to lift the embargo? Is that?
I don't think that's. I don't see.
Or they could do without that and just do what they need to do to help Cuba.
Professor, who is gonna do business with Cuba if America takes aim?
All 187 of them should do business with Cuba.
Well,
Let the United States stay by themselves. What you could do with 187 nations?
Professor,
You're outnumbered.
You can get me and you in trouble.
No, but then if they make
that's
the
democracy
at the UN,
But
that's democracy.
that's
yes,
what
but
democracy
what
is,
I'm saying
yeah.
is all they have to do is start doing business with Cuba and leave the US by themselves. And Israel, they can stay by themselves. The US can't stop 187 nations from doing business with Cuba.
I
all they
agree.
got to do is stand up and do it.
I agree. And if you see the flights in Cuba, Europe in particular, Italy and France in
Yes.
particular, Professor, they fly to Cuba like they going down the road.
So what's stopping the other nations from doing it? Nothing.
Maybe courage. I don't know what it is.
No, there ain't no courage.
I don't know what it is.
If what the U.S. is doing
Mhm.
is not beneficial to them,
Mhm.
why go along with it? You say just two, Israel
and the United States.
Then
It
you
used to
got-
be Brazil too. I believe when they took the vote in 2019, I believe Brazil voted along with the USA as well. So apparently, it has shifted now,
Shifted again.
where it's really just the USA and Israel are the only ones who have the clamp down on Cuba.
Okay.
You know,
But they outnumbered.
they are outnumbered. And if this persists, I know I and those that I am associated with, I am going to have much to say about the benefit of Cuban medicine. Now, try to find a way to work around either the communism or discourage communism as much as you can. But to completely shut Cuba out, Cuba is having blackouts. They don't have oil. They don't have enough fuel for the generators.
Yes.
So they are experiencing great hardship.
Okay.
So Marco Rubio, being a Cuban, well, he's an American now, but a Cuban immigrant, is he really speaking up to improve the lives of the Cuban people?
Yeah.
Or is he speaking up to improve the finances of who he is related to? Is this economic? I just question that.
Yeah.
What are they really after? Obama went down to Cuba. Well,
He had relations.
yeah, he had relations with Cuba, and he
But
relaxed.
he didn't lift the embargo.
No, he didn't lift the embargo completely. What he lifted was travel restriction, because you couldn't fly from an American airport to a Cuban airport directly.
Okay.
And he had lifted that. And so they began to partially. I remember when he gave his speech, and he came out and he said that the U.S. is suffering medically. He came right out and said that the U.S. is really losing also medically by not doing business with Cuba. He pointed that out. And if I recall correctly, Obama brought up the yellow fever in America. Professor, when the yellow fever come out, nobody could solve the problem of yellow fever and why it was taking so many lives. And it was a Cuban who discovered yellow fever was traveling by mosquitoes.
Oh, okay.
And the point is, Cubans solved the yellow fever crisis of America when nobody else could. The best and the brightest minds could not solve the problem of the yellow fever in America. And I put it to you that as it was then, so it is now.
So it is.
There are problems that Cuba can solve that no one else can solve.
Well, then I think we should learn to work with them.
I'd say find a way. Find a way.
All the nations have to do is see what kind of arrangement they can work with. And I think the Bahamas should do the same thing because we're a sovereign independent state.
Well, America is saying they're going to take away travel rights for diplomats and politicians.
But I heard that. That's why we want to see if we could get what the Secretary of State specifically said. I think we have another caller on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please. Call you on live.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, Carl.
That's an interesting topic. Isla.
Hey.
See, the reason why nobody can touch the U.S. because even although the U.S. dollar is still powerful, most widely spent. That's another thing. Now, the Cubans messed with the U.S. in the 50s, and they was taking all them homes and land in Cuba from those Americans that was down there.
Yeah,
So America was mad with them for that too, and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Now, but the biggest problem today is why they keep in things is because of the Cubans that have migrated from Cuba to America and now is a huge voting bloc against the Castro regime, and they will wait till all of them die out before they decide to let the Americans lift the embargo on Cuba. They have the most to do with that, why that ain't happening over there, because that would create a voting bloc against whoever in the United States if they try that. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks
you're
very
welcome.
much. I didn't
You know,
understand it like
yeah, I really feel bad. I hear and I agree mostly with what the caller is saying.
Yeah, okay.
I feel badly about the Cuban people, and even here in the Bahamas, some Cubans that you would speak to, they are 100% against the Cuban government and against communism. So it depends on who you talk to.
I guess so, yeah.
But many of them are totally, and I disagree with how they took away the lives of industrial persons in Cuba. Many families lost everything, and I don't agree with that. And
No, I don't
and so there's been no reparations for that. There's been no apology from the Cuban government, to the best of our knowledge, that okay, we will try to make amends with certain families. But we have families right here in the Bahamas who everything was taken away from,
I agree.
and
that
they're
too.
from Cuba.
We're going to have to stop at this point because the music is on. This is Professor Sidney McCarter, Walter Thompson. We thank you very much for participating in the show today. We are at the end of the show. This is Professor Sidney McCarter, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Bahamians, be safe now because we got some real issues to solve. We'll be here again tomorrow from 2 to 4, and we'll have another topic on the list at that time. Have a safe evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.